What's up, guys? So let's talk about the iPhone 11 versus the iPhone 16 Pro here. This is an upgrade that I think a lot of people are going to be considering. A lot of people have been asking me this question. So let's go ahead and hop in. Is it worth the upgrade? Should you wait till next year? Is this enough? And let's go ahead and just jump right in. Let's start off with the actual hardware difference here. So we do have on here now 3 cameras instead of the 2 cameras on the 11. The third camera is going to be the telephoto lens, and you can see that the cameras are just absolutely massive on the 16 Pro here. They're very big compared to the 11. One of the things you'll notice as well is that you have a matte finish on the 16 Pro versus the glossy finish, which the glossy finish is really not that bad considering what color you get, because you can't really see fingerprints. And then also they feel pretty much the same in the hand and the size as well too. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. They're about the same size as well. And one of the things that you'll notice here is that the iPhone is a titanium design, which as far as the weight is not really noticeable. So it does have that titanium, but you can't really notice it, so it's really just a fancy material. One of the biggest hardware changes is going to be the capture button that you'll notice is right here. This button is not really all that useful for me since I've been using it on the Pro Max. I rarely use it. I think a lot of people will rarely use this. If you're really into taking, photos and stuff, it could be useful for you. I do think it's in a bit of an awkward spot. It is a little bit more comfortable than the 16 Pro Max because this device is smaller, so it's not as awkward, but it is still kind of awkward. And even in a landscape, it's just kind of finicky. And then the overall sliding is a little bit finicky in my opinion. Also, the thing that I really like about the hardware change is that you do have the action button, which I actually think a lot of people will like this button here. So your action button, you could pretty much toggle it to anything. So you can bring up YouTube, the Photos app, whatever you want. So I think that's actually pretty useful for most people. Alright guys, let's talk about the display difference here. So on the iPhone 16 Pro, you have a slightly bigger 6.3 inch display. It's LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED. It's 120 Hz now. It's HDR10 and it is 2000 nits peak brightness. It is 1206 by 2622 resolution at 460 for the PPI. You also have the ceramic shield glass on here. Now, on the iPhone 11, you have the Liquid Retina IPS display. It is an LCD display. It's 625, and then it's also a 6.1 inch display. It's basically a 720p plus display, 326 for the PPI. So I would say here that this is actually a very good upgrade for the screen, mostly because of the 120 hertz, and also you get a much higher max brightness in direct sunlight. So if you're somebody that is outdoors a lot, you will really like, the iPhone 16 Pro's display. It just looks much better than the iPhone 11's. The colors are overall better too, since it is an OLED panel as well. And overall, I think this is a really good display. You get the dynamic island, which I don't really think is all that useful, but it looks much more modern than the iPhone 11's notch here. And I think the biggest thing that will stand out to most people is the overall 120 hertz. It just looks way smoother, guys. But what's funny about the iPhone 11's display is that it's still a pretty good display, and also for people like me who kind of struggle with eye strain, the IPS panel to me is way easier on the eyes. So overall the iPhone 11's display still looks pretty good. It's still sharp, but I think this is a pretty decent upgrade. You get higher max brightness, way slimmer bezels. The bezels are super slim on the 16 Pro. And then also the 120 hertz makes it feel like an actual upgrade for sure here. So overall, I think this is really solid here. Guys, let's talk about the speed difference here. So we have the Apple A18 Pro chip on here, 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM. On the iPhone 11, we have the Apple A13 chipset. We also have 64 gigs and 4 gigs of RAM. And you guys can see the pretty dramatic speed difference here when it comes to overall benchmarks. But let's see how this translates into actual animations and app opening here. Go ahead and test out some apps here. We got YouTube. Pretty much the same here. One of the things that you'll notice here is the overall animations look a lot smoother because of 120 hertz. Subway Surf. So that's why I say people, they get really hyped up about the benchmarks, but for general use for the average person, it's not going to feel that much different. And you can see we do get some of those little stutters, I guess. On the iPhone 11, it does happen from time to time, something that I noticed. Okay. Instagram. All right. Let's do. So you guys can see, not a crazy difference. For the overall gaming experience here, I would say that this is a pretty good upgrade in terms of the gaming experience. If you do consider yourself a mobile gamer, the iPhone 11 still is able to play games pretty well. It's still able to play PUBG at HDR 60 frames, and it's pretty smooth. The only issue I have with the 11 is that for long periods of gaming, it can get really warm, in my opinion. And besides that, I mean, as a casual gamer, I've never really had like an issue with this phone, but it can become an issue, I guess, if you play a lot, and the battery is also something that will kind of drain a little bit faster. Now, with the 16 Pro here, we actually have 120 frames because of the display upgrade, and overall, this phone stays way cooler. Everything is way smoother, so if you play a lot of shooters and stuff like that, this is also able to play like the console games as well, even though they're a little bit scaled down. But it is pretty impressive. If you are, consider yourself a mobile gamer, I think this is a pretty good upgrade. It doesn't heat up as much, and overall graphics and frame rates are going to be much better. Okay, about the overall camera experience here. So let's talk about the camera specs. So we have a 48 megapixel standard on the 16 Pro. We have a 12 megapixel periscope telephoto. It has 5 times optical zoom, and then you can also go up to 25 times zooms now compared to the 5 times zoom on the iPhone 11. And then we also do have a 48 megapixel ultra wide. It also has 4K video up to 120 frames, and then we have a 12 megapixel selfie that also goes up to 4K 60. Now with the iPhone 11, it has a dual camera setup. It's a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot in 4K 60 with a 12 megapixel selfie that also shoots in 4K 60. Also see, guys, a macro mode on here as well too on the 16 Pro here, so that will be new. And then you also do have a cinematic mode as well, which you won't find on the 11. Check out these side-by-side stills and video. Let me know what you guys think. Let's check out these speakers. We're at max volume. We'll start with the 11. So the first thing that pops out is that the 16 Pro has just overall better sound, and it's overall louder. The bass is much louder, and it's a much more cleaner sound as well. Yeah, it's a much more cleaner sound. So overall, I consider this a pretty good speaker upgrade here. Also, I do want to talk about software because I feel like definitely should mention this. The iPhone 11 might not get iOS 19. I'd be surprised if it did. So it's coming to its end of its lifespan as far as software wise. And then also you have the iPhone 16 Pro. It will get the Apple AI or Apple Intelligence features later this month, and I think the rest of them will roll out by January. So you won't get all of them, but you'll get them, this month, some of it. So there's definitely something to take into consideration when you're thinking about upgrading as well too, or not upgrading. You also will be going to USB Type-C as well too, which is something that I really like as well. And then you also do have IP68 on both of these phones as well. Lastly, let's discuss battery life. This is easily a pretty good battery upgrade, and my battery health is really not that bad on the iPhone 11 here. It's at 87%. It does a pretty decent job. It's just one of those phones, if you're doing more intense stuff like gaming and stuff like that, then you can definitely drain the battery pretty easily. With the 16 Pro, the battery life has been fantastic. Standby time is also way better on the 16 Pro as well too. And overall, the battery experience is just better. So this lasts all day, even if you're doing a little bit heavier gaming, video, and stuff like that. It is an overall better battery experience. And then also we do have the MagSafe capability on the 16 Pro here as well too, which is something to take into consideration. And then we also do have, just your standard wireless charging. The 11 also does have wireless charging as well too. And overall, I would just say the overall battery experience is just much better on the 16 Pro for sure. So that's definitely an upgrade in my opinion. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Do you guys think this is enough to upgrade? Are you going to hold out, getting the 16 Pro until, the Apple Intelligence comes, or until the iPhone 17? Very curious. What do you guys think? And I'll catch you guys in the next one.